Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz, and today I am joined by my good buddy Clinton Bonner. As Clinton, we've got some rule changes to talk about on this Wednesday evening, and some other news too that might be relevant to our Seahawks.
For sure, Brandon. It's fun to get on. Hey, look, it's May, right? So there's what are we going to talk about? There's not actual football to talk about yet, but there were some interesting debates going on in the NFL football world, and I think some people care more deeply than others about things like the Tush Push, and I would put myself in the category, Brandon, of actually deeply caring about this stupid play. We'll talk about it.
It's a play that we don't see much from our Seahawks. It's a play that probably doesn't really have any historical impact on our Seahawks seasons. And so I'm a little bit curious to understand why you do care so much, especially when there's other plays that have impacted our Seahawks that a rule change may also have impacted. If we're being vague enough about all this.
Well, it's a little teaser, right? So folks can stick around. But yeah, no, I do. I've got some things to say about the Tush Push, but we're gonna cover more than just the Tush Push. There was more than just that, and there were some decisions around what's happening with divisions. We'll talk about that and why that matters. And Brandon, heck, I think the NFL is finally going to recognize some of the beefy boys up front, and that's going to be fun to talk about too.
So yes, that's what we got planned for everyone this evening. We've got Nate in chat. We've got Corey in chat joining us live. And Corey asking, is it just me, or does it seem like a lot more players are participating in off-season workouts? I don't think the Seahawks have even started with off-season workouts yet, Clinton.
Well, I think they did something, right? Because I saw Tariq Woolen was there, right?
Okay.
And that was kind of a deal.
Because OTAs officially start next week.
Yeah,
right?
They got a couple of, yes, but they have a couple of, they did the rookie thing first, and I think they had some volunteer thingies happening that I know Tariq was showing up for it. And so there was some, just like, okay, good for you. Thanks for getting back out there. And maybe I think in general, it just simply could be second year McDonald, and maybe he's setting a precedent for how he wants, what he expects of his players.
Well, it is voluntary for a lot of up until the mandatory veteran minicamp.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is voluntary, and generally you don't see too many people sitting out unless there's some kind of contract dispute. And I can't really think of anybody who would be in that boat other than, if maybe our left tackle wants a contract, but he's under the 5th-year option. I don't know if that's necessarily in holdout territory, I think, for an offensive lineman under the 5th-year contract. So, yeah, I'm racking my brain here trying to think of anyone who may want to send a message, and I can't think of anybody, but maybe someone in chat knows.
Yeah, drop it in chat for sure. And I think it's a bit of a look at, like, I think last year players like Metcalf would not routinely not show up to these, and folks are starting to poke at that a little bit. But again, they are volunteer. So they are volunteers. So and there's not really real football happening quite yet, but we got lots to talk about here, Brandon. And
yeah, I would like to volunteer to get my body scanned at some point. I know that much.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. So we do love our sponsor, of course. There it is. You see it on screen there, Body Spec, beautiful logo. Look, folks, if you are ready to kickstart your fitness journey, whether you're an athlete or just trying to get back into some beautiful shape, Body Spec has you absolutely covered for the less of the price of a haircut. You can access DEXA scans, the world's most accurate body composition scans. You're seeing the results and the metrics that matter right on screen: your body composition, your bone density, your overall health metrics. It's a very powerful way, Brandon, to take care of that body of yours and understand your well-being. You can really truly understand what's going on. And right now, we're offering a little Flockers discount, exclusively $10 off on single scans. Use the code SHP at checkout. DEXA scans by Body Spec are a great gift. Give them to people you love. Give it to yourself. Bodyspec.com/C-Hawkers, bodyspec.com/C Hawkers. Get your DEXA scans by body spec and know what is happening with your body. Brandon, body spec helps us know what's happening with our body. Let's talk about what might be happening with our league, our beloved NFL here, Brandon.
Our NFL has passed some rules this week, some new rules. They've had some opportunities to adopt rules that maybe we don't care about. And I think with regard to the Tush Push, Clinton,
Yeah.
I think we're on opposite sides of one, getting rid of a rule that really we don't care about versus maybe really caring about getting rid of this Tush Push.
Yes. And
where do you come out with Tush Push versus brotherly shove? Like, do you have, because initially this was adopted by the Eagles and perfected by the Eagles, which is, I think, why we're even talking about it. Because one thing I'd like to know for you before we get into the discussion, would this be an issue if the Eagles weren't so darn good at this play?
That's the exact question to ask. That's a great question to ask. And the answer is yes, because it's not about the Tush Push or the brotherly shove. To answer your sub question there, I'm a sucker for, history. So the brotherly shove, it's a superior name. So I would go with that. It's not about the Eagles being better at it than everybody else. It is about, I'll get into it. I got some really, I think, some education to dole out, and this is how I form my opinion, that I think
so
in general,
facts, logic, and reason. This is just not, you don't like the play.
Well, it starts with I don't like the play, right? So that's where it starts from is, okay, I think the play is not, I think it's dumb. I think it's a trash play. I don't think it's a football play. But the thing is, so did the NFL for a really, 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 really long time. That's the thing. The thing I want to just make sure people know about is I can't get on people's, who are younger, who just have never experienced this and don't know about it. But for the longest time, this play was deemed illegal. And there's reasons for that. I think valid reasons for that. And I think it's deteriorated and continues to deteriorate other parts of the game because this is allowed. And again, it's not about the Tush Push. And we should talk about that because Green Bay had expanded it from, it wasn't just about the Tush Push. Did you see the amendment they put forth?
Yes. And before we get to that, I want to recognize Ryan 911 coming in with a live executive producer donation of $9.99 saying, let's get to see shoving.
Oh, I love it. And I see, that's awesome, Ryan. Thank you, dude. And I see J.O. also saying there, the Seattle tsunami. So however you frame it, look, I love the marketing behind all that stuff. So look, the rules are the rules. So at the end of all of this, I take my medicine and go, well, let's go get good at it. Yeah. And if we want to, and let's be good at stopping it, because that's the reality of life. And you can't always get what you want. But
so you brought up the Packers because they proposed the rule that it was to ban the shoving of the quarterback in particular. This was the rule that they had discussed leading up to this week. And then at the last moment, they changed it and said, no, not just the quarterback. We want to ban all shoving of offensive players.
Correct. From basically from behind, which would be a shove, right? So Green Bay amended it.
Would be a pull if it was from
right, which also used to be illegal, by the way, for a long, long time. So let's talk about that. So, but fact number one is they amended it, so it was not. I think the allergy was it's about the Tush Push, therefore it's about the Eagles. And Green Bay was smart enough to be like, okay, it's not about the Tush Push. It's about illegally pushing a player, the ball carrier, which for the longest time was a penalty that was basically like aiding the ball carrier, right? You could not do this. And so they amended. So that's fact number one. Fact number two that people should recognize is the owners voted 22-10 to ban this play today. Now, the rules are the rules and the facts are the facts. You need 24 votes to officially overturn a rule. So they fell short. And fact number three, our Seattle Seahawks voted to ban this play. So amended to be, you can't push any of your players from behind. Number two, most teams wanted it gone. Number 3, our team wanted it gone. I'm going to get into a little more detail I've carved out, but I'll pause there and just say, so far, facts laid out there.
Okay. But it was a rule in the first place. It used to be that you couldn't do it. So I hear you on the votes and how that played out. But at one point, the league was in favor of this to change it away from what it had been previously.
Well, yes. And let's look at this, right? So from 1920 until basically 2006. And again, for folks that have only in their 20s and 30s, they're not going to really remember the 2006 year when this changed over. But from 1920 until 2006, you could not push a runner. You could not aid your own teammate who's the ball carrier. You couldn't do it. Now, what happened in 1991? The NFL softened this a little bit and said, all right, around the goal line, we can't really tell if it's happening or not, because people would do it, but not overtly push their player. So the NFL said, all right, around the goal line, we really can't call it because we can't see it because it's so condensed. Okay. Then in 2006, they wash it away and say, you could aid and abet the runner really any way you want to. Okay. So that's about 19 years ago. So it's been a rule for a lot longer that it has not been a rule that you just can't do this. So that's kind of first and foremost. So anything you want to poke at there, I realize it's about 19 years since they changed that rule, but for way longer than not, the rule was you can't do this because it's not really a football play. But there's more to the story here.
Okay. Well, I'll bring in what Scott H is saying here and says, so my question is, you say we shouldn't push a player, a ball carrier, which in fact the Seahawks have done. If you watch a lot of the Marshawn Lynch plays,
yes,
that sometimes players are pushing him forward. And I would argue, in fact, that I've seen touchdowns that Marshawn's made. I've seen touchdowns that Kenneth Walker have made. And I like the assist from teammates, because when I see the defense coming in and trying to push our player away from the goal line, and then I see our offensive linemen and other dudes come in and then try and push our player, and then he ends up scoring, that feels awesome to me. And so I like that feeling.
Okay. I can't tell you to not like that feeling. I think it's a super cheap play. And yes, we've seen Marshawn
play that when we've seen Marshawn do it, we haven't seen it's not like they intend, like that's part of the play. It's just
but
they're pushing
yes,
us one way, and we want to of course pick up more yards.
Okay. It is organic. I agree. It's not Tush Push, which is not organic, right? That's the purpose of the play. But again, previous to 2006, also, you got to realize what was happening back then. So when you and I were a little bit younger, there was a play in football that is, by the way, still the rule, which is when forward progress is stopped, the ref is supposed to blow the whistle. Okay. So when we were younger, you probably remember the refs would stop the play quite often, right? And sometimes to the detriment of the game. I'll admit that. Sometimes they're like, oh, the dude wasn't quite down, or the guy was getting out of the grasp, or whatever it might be. They blow the whistle a little too early.
Well, so if a defender comes and hits a guy and stops his momentum going forward, but he spins out of it, maybe goes backward a little bit, regains his balance, doesn't go down. But
again, those are not being held up by 2 or 3 dudes in the play. The play's basically dead, right? So, but do you remember, as whatever, rewind 20 years ago, that there was a lot more blowing of the whistle when the play would be blown dead 20 years ago?
I don't remember specifically.
It happened so much more. It happened so much. So I hope there's others out there that do remember this. Now, the last piece of this, right? And I realize there's just trying to follow the pieces here. So it's 2006. They say you could push anybody you want to, but at the very same time in 2006, the NFL puts in a new rule that says if a ball carrier is engaged, he's being stood up, then the defenders can't go low, and it's at the discretion of the refs. Okay. So now you've got situations where, now let's fast forward to today. What happens? A guy stuffed at the 5-yard line. The defense did their job. This is, to me, all about making this so ridiculously hard on the defense in a league that just continues to penalize good defensive play and make it harder and harder for defenses to be good. So now you get a guy stood up at the 5-yard line. He's dead to right in his tracks. Got 2 or 3 guys on him. A player can't jump on the back. That'll be illegal. A player can't take out his knees, which is a good rule. That's a good rule. But a player can't take out his knees because that would be illegal because he's engaged. He stood up. So, and the refs will not blow the whistle yet. Now, 15 years ago, they would just blow the friggin' play dead because they don't want the running back to get hurt. But now, because you're allowed to go do this rugby thing and do a tush push whenever you want, go aid the runner, they don't blow the whistle. They keep the play going. 2 or 3 offensive linemen can join the fray, push their player forward, and get into this stupid tug of war, which is not a football play. So it is not about the tush push. It's about the series of little rules that added up that now we have this stupid play that happens all the time. And it's wholly unfair to the defense. I know we got Marshawn Lynch touchdowns, Ken Walker touchdowns, but it's dumb. It's a very, very stupid play in the NFL, and they just keep not correcting it. So I applaud the Packers. I think they did the right thing to try and make this about just take it back to the rules that you can't push your player forward, period. That takes away the tush push. It takes away a guy gets stood up at the 5-yard line. You can't touch your guy. Blow the play dead, put the ball back down, and go do another football play. It's just, to me, it erodes good play and replaces it with garbage. That's where I come from, Brandon. And I think eventually it'll be erased sooner than later because it's not a very exciting football play because it's not football.
It doesn't feel anti-football to me. And that's, I guess, where I have the problem with all of this is that I see players getting pushed and it feels like football. Like if we're going to ban the offense from pushing, do we ban the defense from pushing? There's just no pushing in football because you got to tackle in football.
Well, the defense is obviously trying to make a tackle. They're playing defense, right? So look, since 1920 through 2006, you were not allowed to push your guy, except for in certain situations, the goal line.
Change the rules and make it better.
Yeah, but they're not better. But
it feels like they changed it for the better to me.
No, but they changed the rule to say basically, hey, if you're inadvertently doing it, it's okay. It's okay. And then what happened is it was taken to the conclusion it would get to is a team will find a loophole and take advantage of it. And you get stupid plays like the tush push. It'd be so simple if they just blew the friggin' ball dead when a guy stood up. So players actually don't get hurt. Tush push is not hurting anybody. That's not hurting. I mean, it's very rare. I hate that argument. I think it's a stupid argument. But when
there's no data on whether or not.
No, it's just they're going 2 feet basically. It's your chance of getting hurt there, I'd say, much more minimal than going doing a 15-yard out as a tight end and taking a shot to the knees. So it's not about injury. It's just not. But I just think it really diminishes the sport in many, many ways, and it will continue to. So yeah, I don't like those plays.
How is it going to continue to?
Well, it's just garbage.
What's the slippery slope on this? Have we seen the worst, or you're saying it's going to get worse?
Just more of it. More teams doing versions of the tush push, and more. You could even scheme. You could scheme plays where that's what you're scheming up. I mean, like the tush push does that, right? And that's the easiest way. Be like, we're right behind you, like Jamaican bobsleds. Okay. Again, directly flying in the face of the first rule. That's like, even if you're doing it inadvertently, and this is the exact opposite. This is just, you're doing it on purpose. And that's, again, not football. It's not rugby. How could it be worse? You could see teams literally run other types of plays where it's hinging on the players pushing you from behind and not just happening organically at the 5-yard line after a dude stood up. But I think it could be corrected. I think the refs could just blow the friggin' whistle when the player is stood up and not allow the melee to happen. Because again, for me, it's not a football play, and it really hurts it's not integrity, because I'm not trying to be on that high horse.
Your take is slightly different than I will say that I think majority of people who want this gone just dislike the fact that Philadelphia is so much better than the rest of the league
I
at
don't
it.
care. I applaud them for
They
that.
want it gone because I think up until the Philly part, nobody was calling for running backs to not get pushed by offensive linemen. Like I had never
I
heard.
was. I was because it's a bet because that but thank you for saying that too, because that's the crux. It's not the tush push. It is pushing your player over, which for all these years was not allowed, but it shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be able to push your dude forward. It's stupid. Like it does come back to being stupid, by the way.
I feel like that is what Scott H is saying. Clinton Bonner's unpopular opinion. This is about football is entirely about imposing your will on the other team, and so this feels like more of an extension of it. So I feel like we did say Lewis saying it turns into rugby, and I understand that, but I think you've made your point, and I think you've made your point that we'll consider. It'll be considered moving forward, and until then, we'll have our opinions on it. I'm curious though, what other plays don't you like that you want to get banned?
Oh, this is a good one. So this is like less about banning a play. If the NFL could actually fix something, look, this doesn't matter that much in the realm of football. The tush push, it just doesn't happen that often. But I am passionate about why I think it's stupid. But a play that happens all the time and happens more and more and more and more, and that teams kind of scheme up now. Like I would love for the NFL to figure out how to not do the defensive pass interference on the grossly underthrown footballs.
Oh yeah.
Like that is just an absolute talk about garbage play and hurting the game. 3rd and 18, you just throw the go ball and you throw it 5 yards short on purpose, and your receiver just leans back into the cornerback. It's just a terrible play. I think the NFL could sniff it out and just be like, just teach the refs that's not legal and figure it out, and then flag the offense. And you lose it down and you got to punt. That'll be one for me, Brandon, that I think would actually help the sport a lot too. How about you?
That's annoying to me. The one that I think has the potential to ruin football, that if a team were to get good at it, and I'm thinking along the lines of, okay, the tush push play is something that you only see in very specific scenarios, which is why I don't necessarily buy the slippery slope argument, or that we're going to see more of it in different situations. The only time you see plays really designed like that is when you need 1 yard and it's 3rd or 4th down. Like those are the very rare times that you even see that play. There's one other play that you only see very rarely in very exclusive circumstances, and it's the Hail Mary. And I think that if there were a team that could somehow, I don't know whether or not they'd have a player who could just out jump everybody. It was a player that, if you had a team that could execute a Hail Mary essentially any time that they want to, I think that would ruin football.
So how would they? Do you have a secret formula there? Is that
I'm just saying, if you had the types of players that were so much more talented at being able to execute that one specific play, as soon as they got in range to where the quarterback could throw to the end zone, and they just ran that play to perfection, that would ruin football. Like you just run all your guys down to the end zone, and your one guy catches it like every single time. That was. Yeah, that would get annoying.
I guess the Madden style linear, right? The all goes. I think there's more of a chance of my slippery slope than your slippery slope. Let's put it that way. But I do see comic binge bringing this up.
I think that mine has more of an opportunity to ruin what looks like actual football than. Well,
I think they're both bad, right? I think they'll be both bad if a team mastered the Hail Mary and then really just ran the tush push. Look, there's nothing that stops the Philadelphia Eagles from running the tush push on 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, 4th down.
No, but it's not so effective that they have to use it every single play.
Maybe not yet. Not yet, but if they get 4 yards a clip, Does that ruin football, by the way? Does that, yeah, if they run it twice in a series, they run it 10 times a game? Is there a limit to this? I don't think there's a limit. I think it's just a bad play that should be eliminated because somebody could master it and just keep running the stupid freaking tush push or pushing their guys from behind. It could really, really, really deteriorate the game. But I love what Comic Binge is saying here. He's got a nice point about a particular rule.
Comic Binge saying, I want the onside play. No more onside kicks.
And I think, some of the rules that have been bandied about or potential rules was something like, if you score, then you could make it like an automatic 4th and 20 or something like that. Right. That's what I had seen. And then if you convert on 4th and 20, you just get the ball back.
Right.
And
I think that's where the Comic Binge is leaning here, because
so
if you think of specialized plays that only are broken out, that don't necessarily feel like football, the onside kick would be one of those. And that happened to be one of the rule changes that they made here, is that you don't have to, you can declare an onside kick now at any point in the game as long as you're trailing. It doesn't have to be in the fourth quarter, which is what it used to be. And now instead of kicking from the 35, you can kick from, it's 1 yard shorter. So you have less, you only have 9 yards to cover now to try and recover it than the 10 yards. And so they're thinking that could increase it from the 6% chance that maybe it's a little bit higher now. I don't like this either. I think if you're a losing team, you're losing for a reason. Like, we don't need to give teams like weird ways to be able to catch up. I think maybe I'm with the Comic Binge. I think an actual play might be more interesting.
At this point, they've really taken away the special sauce that was onside kicks. And yes, they were still rare, but they weren't so rare that that they had to like incrementally try and dial this thing a little bit. I'll give the NFL some credit for trying to dial it, try to make it a little more exciting, but standing still and not being able to get a running start at it, it's just gonna be difficult to get those turnovers. You've got to have contact at the point of the dude receiving it most often to jar it loose. That's just the way it is for an onside kick to typically be successful. And now here's Scott H. Scott H. There's one that now we're on the same page, brother. Now I could get behind this comment, Brandon.
Yeah, I love the onside kick in the Green Bay game, NFC Championship. It would be tough to take that away, wouldn't it?
Look, was that Bostic? Was it right? Bostic.
Bostic,
yeah. So Brandon Bostic lifer right here. I actually have one more if before we get to the other topics that I think would be a really fun, intriguing gameplay change. You ready for this one?
Okay.
I could keep this short. I think I've described this previously. However, like field goals have become pretty darn automatic. Like they're getting better and they kick longer. Is what it is, right? Compare again, dialing it back to the 80s and 90s when you and I were growing up watching football. A 47-yarder was pretty long, and it was like, oh, I don't know, it's 75%. And now it's like 55 yards and, well over 80, 90%. So the specialists are getting more and more special. I would love a solution. I think this would really bring in some cool dynamics of gameplay. I want to see shrinking goalposts. And not that it's like shorter because you're at the 20.
Yeah.
I want the team to be able to choose. We're at the 20, bring those puppies in. Or we're at the, you have some dynamic thing where it's like, if you're at the 50 and you dial it to like level 3, you bring the goalpost in, that could be a 4-point play. Maybe even dial it up to a 5-point play. I think there could be a lot of fun dynamics of like, a last second kick that is far and you really dial it into the toughest level.
Down by 4 points from 50 yards out.
They don't got to do a Hail Mary because that's stupid.
They don't have to do a stupid Hail Mary. So then the kicker can say, okay, I want the goalposts at dialed in to go for a 5-point kick at the end of the game to try and win it.
Yes, there's rules, of course, with like distances, and then you're like, let's say 3 degrees of difficulty for the width, and you keep the traditional width, and then there's like a level in, I think that could be really exciting. That would be. I'll think of the sponsorships and the theatrics of bringing these things in with music and then getting this kick on this kick to win a game. I think that actually could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it could be, but then it starts feeling like we're watching soccer more than football.
I don't like that. Don't like that part. I guess it just makes kicking a bit more fun. It brings some variability to the game. Look, they put the 2-point conversion in, and that's obviously become more and more and more popular as it's marinated through the years. So, hey, we don't got to go nuts. How about just the extension? Even keep it simple. 1 degree of difficulty harder after a certain distance, and you can make it a 4-point kick.
That'd be the place to start.
Right. And just kind of
maybe start with that in preseason too.
Yeah. I mean, starting over in like the USFL, that's fine. I don't care. But it'd be pretty cool to experiment with that as a new variant. I think that could really manipulate gameplay potentially to the positive, potentially.
Man, the NFL is not going to be down with anybody tearing down or touching goalposts when they actually have mechanics to them that allow them to move the goalposts. Yeah.
This is a solved problem. You just make them electric and then don't touch.
Okay.
don't touch them. They're electric.
Laser goalposts.
They should use lasers pointing up to see if the thing actually went through the friggin' uprights and use, I don't know, sensors in the ball. That might make sense, right? It is 2025.
Did you see that they aren't going to use sensors, but they are going to use a series of 8K cameras now to track the ball's position on the field?
Yes.
And that's going to take the place of, not necessarily take the place of the chain gang, but they're going to have a lot better idea of where the ball should be spotted now with the cameras.
Yeah, and you could do it so fast now. There does not need to be a delay with the speed of these algorithms and computer vision, and you could know exactly where the ball is. You could triangulate that and exactly when a knee went down, as long as you have a good vision of it. If you have some vision, and you'll know the exact moment where that thing should be. I'm all for it. I'm all like better living through chemistry, better living through technology. Let's go. I'm fine.
All right. Well, I know one thing that you're especially happy about is a rule that didn't pass. The Tush Push rule did not pass, but neither did this one that I know that you're happy about, Clinton.
Yes, and we're going to talk, I think, next about that divisions still matter, Brandon. Division titles still matter. In my opinion, they ought to matter. But again, I have a little bit of a tributary to give the audience as to why I feel that way and why I just don't think it should just be record based across the league. But first to you, are you happy that divisions still matter? And I guess we should explain how they still matter to the audience.
Well, yeah, they still matter because it goes back to, this is an argument I feel like, especially as Seahawks fans, has touched us because it goes all the way back to when Seattle won the NFC West with a losing record. And the world champion New Orleans Saints then had to come to Seattle, even though they had a better record, but they did not win their division. The Seahawks did win their division. They had to come to Seattle, and they got beaten. And Marshawn Lynch was a big reason because of that with the Beastquake game. And ever since then, I feel like there's been a little bit of a push to where you would allow a team that, even though they didn't win their division, to somehow seed the NFL playoffs based on record more so than based off of divisional wins. And I think that I'm curious where you would come out on this too, because there could be an argument to say, well, only if the winning team of the division has a losing record, then you would reseed it versus, okay, everybody has a winning record. And just like last year, okay, Minnesota played really well, but they also had the Lions in their division. Yeah, sorry. I mean, that kind of sucks for you because you just were in a really good division, but there weren't any other losing teams that made the playoffs. Is there a scenario where you would be for it and where you would not be for it?
I'm open to the idea of a reseed after the first round is played. I'm open to that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't even do that. I think the way it is done currently is the best way. I am a huge fan of division titles mattering, and not because we have the amazing benefit, just like the Tush Push. It's not about that. It's not about the Seahawks and the Beastquake. Of course, I love that, and the statue should go up yesterday. But division titles should and ought to matter in sports and be more than just a banner. The reward of getting your home field for at least that game. And I think, again, if you have a 7-9 team, then you're the 4 seed, right? So playing that out, most often you'll have one game. Most often, you're not going to have a second home game. Most often, but I'm okay with the force.
The potential is to have a second home game.
Oh, for sure, and that's fine, and that's totally fine because you won your game, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. The big thing for me about this is, number one, keeping the divisions to matter, and this is great, but also the variance in football schedules. This is, hockey and basketball, 82 games or so, right? And they'll do the 1 through 8, and away they go. And they kind of ruined the specialness of divisions many years ago in hockey, and that was stupid. But in football, your variance of your strength of schedule is so different. It's not just your division. You might go 10-7, right, and win your division. And a couple of other things could be absolutely true. Your division could be badass. Like, you just beat each other up. You all go 2-2, right? It's a really, really tough division. So you're beating the crap out of each other. And then you could go and have the other unfortunate thing of playing the other best division or the best division in football.
Right.
So you could end up punishing, let's say, a 10-7 team who won their division, and another wild card team goes 11-5. Very, very realistic scenario, right? But right there, 11-6, 1 win differential. The 11-6 team could be sitting in a crap division and have a comparatively weak schedule. And now you're going to let them leapfrog and they get the home field because they had one more win in the regular season, and we're not division winners. None of that on the scales of justice fits in my brain, Brandon. None of it.
The only thing that I could maybe make a case for again is like you said, if you win the division, you get a playoff home game, and then after you get through the first round of playoffs, because we're going to start seeing, I think we'll probably see the playoffs expand at some point, the number of teams that are allowed in. That just seems to be the trend because that's where the money is.
Well, they got 14 right now, right? 14.
Yeah, but the more teams that are in the playoffs, the more money you can make, and the NFL seems to be about money.
You ain't wrong. You're not wrong, man.
And so I could see it. Then you're going to start letting in teams that have so anyway, you get through the first round and then maybe reseed at that point.
Again,
maybe
I could get behind that. It's not terrible. I'm okay with it. It's less unjust than the scenario I just laid out.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Because I think you should protect against that, because if you had a situation, maybe like last year, the Lions and the Vikings, they racked up a ton of their wins because they played 2 terrible divisions in the AFC or within their schedule, one terrible AFC division, one terrible NFC division, and that's why they're so much better. So it's tough to take all that into account.
I like Scott has a great suggestion. Let all 32 teams. Hey, Jets fans, rejoice! You're going to make the playoffs. Congrats, and Browns fans, look at you.
You finally did it. You finally have a playoff team.
What did Syndrome say in the Invincibles? Right, when everybody has superpowers, nobody has superpowers, right? So that's how the Jets get in when everybody gets in, because they are not good.
Well, speaking of superpowers, we have a new award that the NFL is going to be giving out. The Protector of the Year Award, recognizing the power of the greatest offensive lineman in the league.
I love this. I absolutely, I might be, down on a couple other things and decisions. I think this is great. And it was almost shocking to me that I was like, wait, there's not an award for that. Like, we don't award the best offensive lineman yet. And I guess it just never dawned on me. So shame on me, Brandon. But yeah, I mean, in your opinion, do offensive lines matter as a Seahawks fan?
Yeah, I think offensive linemen matter. It's really hard though this is going to end up, I think, being like so many other awards to where it kind of ends up being an achievement award, I think, for some of the older players. And I don't know. That's
Could be.
where I could see that coming into play. I don't know. It's really until they make pancakes a stat, Clinton. I don't see how we even come up with how would you choose who is the best offensive lineman in any given year?
Well, sure, but how do you choose who is the best running back? Is it just yards? Is it the
Yards,
yeah,
touchdowns.
yeah,
There's a number of statistics that play into it.
I understand that. Is it all just vibes, Brandon, right? So, but I hear you. And by the way, I would absolutely talk about rule changing and stat changing. They should. I mean, we have PFF grades, but they should track pancakes. It's hey, the data's out there now, right? The video evidence is there. You could go back and run algorithms and be like, was that a pancake? Yes or no? Yes, it was. He had 6 pancakes on Sunday. Good job. I think that absolutely could and should be a stat. But I think this is a step in the right direction and maybe a bit more emblematic. I know it's not just about an offensive lineman who's blowing open holes for the run game. But I like the trend in the NFL where we're going back to a little bit more respect for maybe older school football and the run game. So this is a bit of a nod in that direction for me with this protector award. Although they did call it protector, which is interesting because that's not blowing a hole open because that's probably the opposite of protection, yeah. Brandon.
Well, it's protecting the quarterback, which I think even by that, going by that naming convention, then it's obviously pointing more toward, the passing component of the offensive line play rather than maybe the running component. And this is already a biased award.
Yeah, they'll have to figure it out. It's going to be a little bit of nepotism / look, Bobby Wagner keeps getting voted as all pro. He's not an all-pro linebacker anymore, but he's going to keep getting his votes. Sorry, not sorry. Doesn't play at an all-pro linebacker level, but he's going to keep getting them because he's Bobby Wagner. And that's not like undeserved. It's just the way the system works. Hopefully they have, some stats they're looking at and they're able to kind of compile and come out with a thesis as to why player X was a smidgen better than player Y for the protector of the year. That'll be interesting.
Ugh, I hope it's just not PFF grades. That would be
you got to do a little better than that, right? I hear you, but the double-edged sword with PFF grades. They do give you a standard, right? Just be like, okay, if they rate him at 80,
yeah,
then he was probably pretty damn good that year. Versus like the opposite end of like a 50 or something really, really poor. So it's something. I think it's better than what we used to have. I'm a fan of data in general. So more data that you can get there. If you could come up with some, computations that seem pretty fair. And again, I'll give you the tip of the cap, Brandon. Let's get pancakes mixed in. Let's do it.
Something we've talked about for a while. Sean Scotchman says, and this is one of the rules that I'm pretty happy to see. And this was one that passed unanimously by the NFL, allowing players to play flag football in the Olympics. And Sean's asking, is it just going to be the rookies? How do you choose who those players will be? Ooh, do we get to vote, or is this just going to be, how do they assemble this team? Would it be, I feel like the all pros should have an opportunity to take it first. And so that way the all pro vote means a little something extra. Like you get your first dibs on whether or not you want to represent Team USA in flag football. I feel sorry for the rest of the world that this rule passed.
Yeah, they're not beating us in football. I like your idea. For most often with Olympics, I'm kind of just in general anti-pro athletes in the Olympics. I think it cheapens what the spirit of the Olympics were meant to be to begin with. I know the ship has sailed. Yes, I liked the original Dream Team. That was fun. But it also is like, okay, watching 120 to 60 is less fun from a competition perspective. I'd prefer to see amateur athletes. In this case, if I had my druthers, I would love to see like the best flag football players. And obviously, there's a lot of flag football and there's like professional flag football leagues now. I think it would be cool to give, because they're a pro in their own way, obviously not the caliber of NFL. I like to see them get the first crack at it because they're really great at flag football. And if it's going to be the pros, which obviously it was voted on that it can be, I like your idea. I think that'd be a really cool. You see it in other sports and hockey, etc. It'd be really cool as an extra reward. Like you said, all pro gets first dibs. That'll be really interesting. It'd be cool to see who accepts it.
You bring up a good point, though, because, yeah, my mind immediately went to NFL only players, but there probably are non-NFL players that are just really, really good at flag football that maybe for whatever reason they didn't want to go into the NFL, or maybe they just, don't, they didn't like the physicality of it, and they don't necessarily need to be physical in flag football. And, well, I think quarterback, obviously the best one's going to come from the NFL, but would there be other position players that maybe you'd be missing out on if you didn't go with an NFL guy?
It's, it is a different sport in some ways, obviously, like we get the ways, but it would be just kind of neat. And that there might just be some dudes out there that are like, this guy's the best flag football wide receiver. Now, if you're like, dude, don't be an idiot, Justin Jefferson's going to beat the best flag football wide receiver, you might be right, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the other athlete who doesn't make $30 million a year go get that glory and go win something for the USA. Like, that to me is fun.
So maybe we need flag football team playoffs for the opportunity to represent the US as our flag football team against the world.
I like everything you're saying. Like more competition. Flag football's fun. It's blowing up everywhere. Obviously, in the youth area, in general, it's really taken over tackle, which will be very interesting. Let's fast forward 10 or 15 years down the line. Like, okay, the flag football players are learning.
Oh, let's not get crazy about this. The only time flag football is going to matter to me is when Team USA jerseys are out on the field.
Oh, you say that now, but in your old age, when most players have played more flag than they did tackle, it might impact the NFL in ways that you're not thinking about quite yet. It's just I could see it happening. But either way, I like the idea.
You know what? People were telling me that I would care about soccer by now, 20 years later, and I still can't do it until it's like World Cup time.
I'm not saying you'll care about soccer. I'm saying flag football could impact your NFL more than I think you're thinking about.
Oh, maybe.
That's
maybe
what I'm
it
saying.
would. All right. Well, a big thanks to everyone who joined us in chat today. Thanks to Ryan911 coming in with the super chat, being our live executive producer. Thanks to everyone who, had a little bit of discussion with us about the rules. Too bad Adam, again, on the road. He had to pick up a part that he's been looking for and couldn't join us for this conversation. I am curious to know if he would have persuaded Adam on whatever his views were of the Tush Push one.
Yeah, well, he'll have to watch. I see Car in the comments there saying that she might have been persuaded a little bit when I started hammering on the fact that I think it's not okay to do the defense. I think it's a sour thing to do to those defensive players. And I'm always going to side with defense, man. That's how I'm wired, Brandon. But yeah, I'm excited to get Adam back as well. Some folks were asking in the YouTube comments, like, hey, where's Adam? Yep, he's just got a couple things and, on the road, but he'll be back. I know you and Adam have a flagship coming up pretty darn soon. Yeah.
Yep, we're going to be recording either Friday or Saturday. We have some other stuff where he's going to be vacationing in the upcoming week, so we'll probably plan to record something that we can play during that time. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. If you want to know about it, if you want to know when those episodes come out, you can always give us a like and a subscribe out on the YouTube video, or if you want to help support the show, you can go to getintheflock.com and you can support us monetarily there. You can even join for free, and you can just get the notifications of when shows go live, and you could have a dedicated RSS podcast feed right through there too. Uncensored episodes go through there. Ad-free episodes go through there. So yeah, if those things appeal to you, getintheflock.com.
Brandon, all they got to do is tush push all those buttons, baby.
And I think with that,
There's only one thing left to say.
go Hawks.
Go Hawks.